Hi everyone, Nicole, Russo, and Dan Illman coming to you with the Oaks Countdown, the final countdown now on this week. The field was drawn yesterday afternoon here at Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Oaks, set for Friday at Churchill Downs. Let's take a look at the field. Real quickly, you'll see Beguine, the also eligible down there at number 15. The Oaks field, of course, as we've said all spring, limited to 14 starters. Beguine has until Friday morning to draw in should there be a scratch. That said, the main body of this field ready to go. Nest, your 5-2 morning line favorite. A couple of undefeated fillies in the field, as we've discussed. Our past performance is now available on DRF.com. The Clocker reports from Mike Welsh and his team on site at Churchill Downs, and more to help you analyze this terrific field for the Kentucky Oaks.
It is certainly a super field, as you mentioned, Nicole. Nest is 5-2 on the morning line, but what about the depth of this group? Echo Zulu is an undefeated champion. She's 4-1 on the morning line, and she might be right in the thick of things when they turn into the stretch, considering her speed.
Yeah, and it really does say something about the depth of this group that Echo Zulu, as you said, an undefeated champion, has done no wrong and is the third choice on the morning line. This is going to be one of these fields where somebody runs fourth just because somebody has to, and then winds up being a multiple grade one winner or in the Hall of Fame, 10 years from now. Let's go back and watch Echo Zulu when we last saw her as a 2-year-old, wrapping up her unbeaten campaign by winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I think it's always interesting to see who goes on from 2 to 3. Behind Echo Zulu this day were a couple of fillies who we're going to see back in the Oaks, hitting Connection, who was 4th, and Desert Dawn, who won the Santa Anita Oaks as a long shot last month. Dan, we've talked about the Fairgrounds Oaks. Do we think Echo Zulu going to move forward off that she needed the race, or do we think that some of these others have caught up to her now at 3?
Has to come down to price, doesn't it? If you're getting 4-1 on Echo Zulu and you still believe, you have to bet with both fists and hope that last race was merely a prep run. She has shown in the past, obviously, that she can run faster races than that. Her Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies was a sensational performance. You rarely see Breeders' Cup races won in that fashion, basically ridden out. 2 ways to look at the Fairgrounds Oaks. You can say Echo Zulu wasn't as spectacular as she was in her 2-year-old campaign. That's absolutely the truth, but you could also say it was a prep. To me, there are 2 keys regarding Echo Zulu in Friday's Oaks. A is the distance. Does she really want to go 1 1/8? And B, how fast will she have to go in the early portion of this race? We know she has speed, but one of the fillies right next door, the number 6, Ujiri, she also has speed, and I think Florent Giroux is going to take the race to Echo Zulu.
I think the pace very much will make the race. As to your second question, I do think that Echo Zulu can go a little bit farther than she's seen being by Gun Runner. I do think that a lot of his progeny have some more distance capability there. Speaking of distance capability, the morning line favorite Nest, on such a similar pattern, both on paper and in her races, to Malatha, who won the Oaks last year for Todd Pletcher. She's by Curlin out of an AP Indy mare. She prepped in the Ashland. We'll watch her Ashland win, and just one of the most impressive performances we've seen by a 3-year-old this spring.
She's been beautifully managed by Pletcher thus far. They found a very easy spot for her at Tampa Bay for her seasonal debut, where she just got her wheels underneath her that day. And now, as we see her winning the Ashland, she was 4 wide on the backstretch. She made a sweeping move on the turn, and she is going, gone. It's noteworthy that this race came over a wet track. There is a possibility of some rain at Churchill Downs this week. Nest, to me, it's been very interesting watching her last couple of races, because they've made a concerted effort to get her to the outside in the early part of the race, to get her into the clear, to make sure that big engine, when it starts going, it doesn't get stopped by traffic. From post position 4, it's up to Irad Ortiz to find a way to get to the outside, lest she be in behind horses.
Very interesting point as to how this filly likes to run, and very interesting point as to the weather. We're continuing to watch the weather forecast in Louisville for both Friday and Saturday. It seems to change a little bit every time I look at it, but I think we do have a better than average chance of a wet track on Friday for the Kentucky Oaks. I'm sure we'll be handicapping right up until, the last minute here with some of these developments. But at this moment, what I'd like to do for our viewers, Dan, is where do you see value in this race? Who are you going to use with some of the obvious fillies that we've discussed all season here?
Well, no, it's a very, very good question. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what kind of price we'll get on a filly like Shahama, who's 15-1 on the morning line. And if you just watch her visually, boy, has she been impressive in her races, Nicole. It really looks like she hasn't been set down in any one of those spots. This is a huge step up in class. I'm curious to see what price we get on her. My value play, though, is the number 8, Venti Valentine. This is a filly that has run very well at 1 1/8 without winning. I think she is going to utilize a different running style than what happened in the Gazelle last time, where she was the one to make the lead. This time she draws outside the 2 prime speeds. I can see Tyler Gaffalione, who certainly knows Churchill Downs like the back of his hand, sitting just off the 6 and the 7, and we'll see if she's good enough. She's going to be a big price.
Venti Valentine, a very consistent filly who we discussed last week. Remember that you can go back through the archives on DRF TV and find all of our series on the Oaks Countdown here this spring if there's a particular filly you're interested in. I too like Shahama. I really like the way she's training, really just puts her head down and goes to work in the mornings on the muscle without being rank. I am concerned that she hasn't run since February. Along with them, my other value horses will be Hitting Connection, who gave Echo Zulu everything she could handle down the lane last time and who owns a graded win over this track. And Turner Loose, really on the muscle training this morning, has really looked well. She's got a little bit of turf background and turf breeding in her, and we often say that that's not a bad thing at Churchill Downs on the dirt, particularly when the track comes up wet.
And lest we forget Secret Oath, remember she was favored against the boys, a couple of horses that are going to run in the main event on Saturday, Cyberknife and Barber Road. She was far from embarrassed that day. 6-1 on Secret Oath, considering what she's done against fillies this winter at Oaklawn Park. That's a very nice price as well.
My goodness, yes, what value on Secret Oath, who really gave away nothing in defeat with a terrible trip last time. She's going to have to work out a trip from the rail in this full field of fillies. But, the talent's certainly there. And if you like her, then you have to discuss Ugiri and a couple of these other fillies. Again, Ugiri, who you mentioned, 30-1 on the morning line. Just value throughout this race. Is stellar fillies at the top, favoritism wise in this race. We've been looking forward to this race all spring, and it's finally here, and I don't think it could be lining up any better.
Well, quality through and through. Hopefully it all stays together. Hopefully the weather holds off. You've got an undefeated filly in Kathleen O. You've got an undefeated champion in Echo Zulu. You've got the physically imposing Nest. You've got Secret Oath. Boy, would I love to see Mr. Lucas in the winner's circle after a race like the Kentucky Oaks. We've got all the storylines, Nicole. I'm looking forward to the Oaks.
And all the storylines, again, as we said, on DRF TV, on DRF.com. Pick up your past performances, pick up your clocker report, do your studying in the final countdown to the Kentucky Oaks here from the Oaks Countdown.